Welcome everyone. How you doing? It's a special moment. I'm joined by Sheikh Har from the United Boys channel. We're both doing a joint live stream, and we're here to talk about Manchester United, all things United. If you're a United fan, this is the live stream for you. Certainly, things haven't been going the way United fans want, at least some of them. So we got to get into it. How are you doing?
I'm good, Dwayne. Thanks for inviting me over, and it's really good to at least talk through whatever we are going through, because I think United fan base are really going through a very tough time, and this is the first time since I've been following United for more than 20 years. I have not seen I've seen people angry. I've seen fans very happy, jubilant, but I've never seen so many fans feel so disconnected to the club. A lot of my viewers are saying that, oh, and I see this on Twitter as well, like on X, and a lot of other social media platforms. People are saying we don't care, like we are not going to watch it, and it's good.
Mm.
United did not win. So that kind of sums up how, as a fan base, we are feeling.
It's like a level of apathy now. You've gotten used to disappointment that it seems as if people just don't care anymore, and that's not something that you really want as a football club, especially not a football club this big. You know?
Right. And with such a big fan base, it's really crazy.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
and
see a lot of people coming through. I just want to welcome them. I think a lot of them are your fans too.
yeah.
The hashtag laser out is in the chat. But I want to start with an interesting thing, because the last time you and I did something, you raised an interesting point when we were analyzing the state of United, in terms of where the Glazers are and this new INEOS ownership, in terms of joint ownership or part ownership, and them taking over football operations. And one of the things that you had mentioned, and I don't think a lot of people put that in perspective enough, and I'm still not seeing it from, the big media outlets, the Athletics, you name it. They're not they're not talking about how he ran, or how Ineos ran Nice. And you were concerned about that. You mentioned that that is the place you have to look at to see how they operate football. And so, maybe you want to start with that. I don't know if you feel vindicated. I don't think vindicated is the right word, because no one is happy when the club is not doing well. But are you
No,
worried?
I'm hundred. Like I'm seriously very worried. The only hope that I had here was Ruben Emrim. Maybe
Hmm.
he can do something. But I was always concerned about the ownership model. Even from the day one of Ineos coming in, I never thought that Glazers would actually leave them to run the club.
Hmm.
And how much can they do? And I do remember what you just brought up. Like our previous conversation, I was talking about, you have to look at their footballing footprint, like what they have established in world of football, or for that matter in any sports. Like they touched Mercedes and they never won any races after that, right? Before that, Mercedes was a very good team. So uh, they're not sports people, they're not footballing people. So that is where I was really very concerned about that. Our co-owners are also going to be like, they are not successful, and then we already have Glazers who are still in the power. So that is why I was very concerned at that time. But what has transpired over the last 2 years of Ineos coming in, um, initially it was a lot of jubilation from the United fans. It was a lot of hope, and if there is one thing that United fans get very excited by is hope. Like we always we are in a mad rush to go back to nostalgia and go the Sir Alex Ferguson way and all that, because we want to go back to our past.
Hmm.
We thought that this like Ineos would take us there. There were some really good words, interviews that came out. We saw we knew that this is certainly better than what the old regime was, which was Woodward and Richard Arnold and all. But then the steps that they took, they have always been very destructive towards the club, towards the fan culture. like pricing high, the ticket prices, talks about demolishing Old Trafford and building a stadium with a lot more debt on the club. But good thing about Ruben Amorim sacking is at least it has taken the blown the cover from INEOS. Like before that, people still gave them a chance that they will turn it around. But I see a lot of people now have turned against INEOS. Now you see in the last game as well against Burnley, there were fans with "Jim can't fix it" banner.
Right.
So yeah, it's really, that part is really good.
Yeah, so it is shocking in a sense. I think there's still a narrative out there that says they've been trying to do some good things, create a football structure, but it's hard to really give them a lot of credit right now in the sense that we can't really explain the Dan Ashworth situation really well. You spent all of that money to get him from Newcastle, then he's fired in no time. Ratcliffe saying you can't judge a manager until 3 years. Then there's this notion of, are you really supporting the manager in terms of the signings, the timing of some of the signings this year? So you started out in the summer really quickly with one, then you had to wait. But we all know he didn't like Onana, so why wait until the start of the season for a goalkeeper? Still don't fix the middle of the park. And now clearly he felt undermined, right? In the sense that he wasn't getting the signings that would support the style of football. And if you didn't like, and now we're getting all this breaking news or whatever behind the scenes now, that maybe Wilcox didn't like him that much
Right.
and it was more of a Barada type thing. So that strikes me as really ludicrous because that comes on the back of the firing of Eric Ten Hag, who you didn't fire after the FA Cup win, and you waited so long, you made him spend money. So I know I'm rambling here, but I really don't see, outside of maybe fixing Carrington, that's the best they can tell
Good
me
point.
right now.
Yeah. No, definitely a very good point that you raised there. Um, a skeptic in me thinks the reason why that was done was because of Cristiano Ronaldo's interview. If he wouldn't have called that out, probably the deal with the Glazers would have been, okay, give us the money, come here, build me a new stadium. Um, so that would have been the deal. But since Ronaldo clearly called it out in front of like the world, when Ronaldo speaks, everyone listens. So there was nowhere to hide. So that is why that was part of the deal. Otherwise, why would Glazers insist on improving Carrington? They did not put a money like $1 into Old
In the
Trafford.
club.
Why the hell they would want us to improve Carrington? They don't want us to improve the team. They don't want us to do anything. So they and so and like I mentioned, in the last time we met, I also raised a concern that I like when I hear some Sir Jim Ratcliffe, apart from the first couple of interviews that he gave, he has he I become very concerned because he in the last couple of interviews he has mentioned repeatedly that he wants us to make to become a very profitable club. So again, like if you look at the entire picture, it becomes very evident that they are just here for the business. And when you talk about profit, you talk about what is the best way of generating profit for the owners. It would be if the valuation goes up, and that is when you realize, okay, that is why they are hell bent on destroying Old Trafford and then building
Right.
a new stadium, again loading all the debt on the club. But at least the valuation would go up. That would certainly not improve the team. Like what are you going to do? Put this like an average team which is eighth in the league, put them into a new stadium where like 100,000 people can watch and clap for them and sing, like they like do what you want to them to do, like spend a lot of money. So yeah, so this is why I'm really concerned about the ownership model, and
Right.
I'm like I mentioned, I'm really pleased that people are waking up, and now at least the cover is blown, and so people can now actually start to question INEOS.
Yeah, no, that's a interesting point. And, yeah, I hate it when football clubs talk about profit too. Obviously, I'm sure Real Madrid talked about profit when they decide to redo their stadium, but they thought football first. They always think football first, right? They probably just like, we can sell a lot of concerts in the stadium, and I have no problem if they do that, but that's not the way you want to think about it. So we're on the ownership, and I want to spend time on that too. But the question is, a lot of people might say, if we're being charitable, what is how do we square up where AMORIM was as well, right? In terms of, was he too rigid? Wasn't the flexibility to change the style of football to accommodate the players, especially since he wasn't getting the type of players? And I want to put it this way: I understand you buy a guy who is hell bent on a style. I don't know if I'm always like those type of coaches. I think you need a philosophy for sure, and you want to stick with it. But you need to have some flexibility as well. But I put it in the context of, you cannot get the real control at the club or any club unless the performance on the field goes your way, right? And I wonder if
Right.
he was a bit too stubborn. Like, win some games, change something, then go into the boardroom and say, look, you see what I've managed to do with a system that I
Right.
don't like. Otherwise, I'm going to walk. But I don't think he had the footing to to blow up with Jason Wilcox on Friday. Yeah.
Right. No. That's totally a very valid question, and that's a very good way of looking at it. Uh, on the point that is Emrim was Emrim stubborn or rigid, I always feel that these are the words that we see some characteristics and we try to tag a word associate a word with it.
Right.
Where people, of course, it comes from the media. If Gary Neville says something, that will stick. If you and I would say something, it would not, right? So from how I always perceived it, is because is I saw Ruben Emrim being very true to his principles. That is the word that I would associate with him. He like I'm not sure if all the fans, like many fans, would know this, but he played that system at Braga. He played that system at Sporting, which gave him a lot of success. And then he brought that system. He was hired based on that system. He was promised things based on that system. But when the promises were not delivered, uh, yes, he could have changed his approach. He was being rigid, but shouldn't he be? Because he saw that the last manager changed his things. He threw his philosophy, and over a period of time, he was also sacked. He was like abused in media
Right.
and all that, and he was thrown away. Right. So why would you lose your philosophy? Because if a man, what do we call a man without a philosophy? Like if you see Jurgen Klopp, if you see Arteta, if you see Pep, the managers who have actually done very well within, and I'm not talking about 80s or 70s, I'm talking about within the last 5-7 years.
Right.
These are the managers who have stuck to they have always been very clear on their philosophy. They have been given very good support. They did not win, except for Pep. They did not win immediately into the club any trophies, but there was a very gradual success, right? Very gradual, very slow. uh, and how I see Emrim is that he was very true to his principles. He got a very little support, and with that, he made us into a really decent team. I would not say that we were playing like killing teams out of the park.
Right.
We were struggling, but wherever we invested our money in, which was the attack, we saw that we were tremendously better than the last year or the year before, right? So we have not scored these many goals so far in half a season. We have not had so many shots and xgs and all that, right? The problem was defense, where we did not invest anything. So it all comes back to it. You can bring a manager with a philosophy, even if he's rigid, even if he's flexible, it doesn't matter unless and until you invest into the team. And by when I say invest, people would always think that investment is okay. You spend 200 million, so like that's a good investment. Yes, but then you want to be in top 4. And if you want to be in top 4 with this current squad, probably that is not a very good investment.
Right.
So how would you handle that? How would you manage that? There are two ways to go about it. Either you spend a lot more, get top quality players, which Ruben Amorim was asking for. He was asking for Ollie Watkins, experienced goalkeeper, experienced striker, and a midfielder, right? So either you go and spend big and you basically buy time. You basically shorten the time that will take for you to reach to top 4. Otherwise, if you spend 200 millions every summer, it will probably take you 6 years, and by the time other teams would be way ahead of you, right?
Right.
So the other alternative could be you scout really well. You
Yeah.
scout really well, so that you don't, within that 200 million, you can actually get 6, 7, 8 good players. Some of them are really like maybe one or two are world class. Some of them are very good. Some of them are good. Some are potential, right? So right now, and this was very interesting what Ruben Amorim called, that the sporting director and the scouting have to do their job. Why is the manager asking you to give him Ollie Watkins or an experienced player? Because he does not trust the scouting.
Right.
Why did Eric Ten Hag always used to go back to Ajax and find players from his old club that he has worked with? Because he never got, our scouting was really poor. And with half of the workforce that is now left after INEOS have done their cost cutting, uh, I would not blame Emrim on not trusting the scouting and the sporting director and actually calling them out in the press conference. So that is where I think we really are losing the grip of the reality that we are a bang average team, where expectations are top 4, but the investments are not like that, where the scouting is not like that. So yeah, bring any manager, they would struggle. People keep linking Luis Enrique or the best of the names to us, but I now wonder if they would ever be able to work within a environment that INEOS have created, where basically you have to follow the orders of Jason Wilcox, who last I checked got Southampton relegated, where he was the director, right? And then the best thing at a successful club, what he has done is
The
coach
city.
academy, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, it's a very big risk that we are taking. How do you feel, Dwayne,
I
about
mean,
what has
it's
happened?
a interesting one. I'll tell you what I feel. It's like I just want to shout out people. I see a lot of people, Van Lee. I see people from your coming through too. Someone said, "Have mercy on you." It's it's 3 a.m. in India, and so there's questions about what United not being a successful team, and they should get a Spanish manager. We'll address those in a second. And thanks everyone for coming on this collaboration. I thought when Ineos came and I think they're great talkers, right? And I thought they sold us a good game in terms of we're modernizing football, right? And every journalist they're in the space, they're all saying these things, right? It's not like the the athletic portion of the New York Times or whatever. All of those guys are there. Carl Anka, everybody, the Guardian, BBC, Simon Stone, you name it. They're all getting and Sky Sports, they're getting the inside track about what this oil tanker of a club used to look like is being transformed into something that is much more of a giant, right? It's something that is how modern football should work, right? And yeah, so you get a new CEO, you get you start structuring the football operation. So what you're telling me until we see it is that we want to play a particular style of football or a particular brand of football. We're going to recruit the manager that can execute that, and then we're going to find the players to support that long term. Because my simple take on it is, whoever you hire, the question you should ask yourself the next day: suppose they walked outside and got a heart attack and they died, like, who would replace them, right? So this is what you're telling me the modern football club should be like. It shouldn't be dependent on Pep Guardiola or Luis Enrique or Unai Emery or anybody, right? They play a tremendous role, but it's a larger structure. It's a big business. It's not a family club. the whole word of a manager came in and the whole professionalization of a football club. And so they could just, so yeah, I'm rambling, but I'm saying this is what they've told us, that we have a structure, but outside of that, who was supposed to be the real CEO or the real director of football? I don't really know, because where's Christopher Vevel now? There's all these different guys that are coming in and out. So it makes me feel that there's more problems than they're making it out. And I wonder if what we're getting is just a guy with a lot of money who managed to buy his way into the club, just like flipping his fingers around when he's unhappy, or if you try to challenge him. And if you're not a football guy, you shouldn't be saying anything.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So whenever he speaks, he just tells you lies, because
Yeah.
and like when he gives an interview, at that time it always sounds very good, but after a couple of months you always get to see some actions that are very opposite to what he has said. So for example, in October he did come out and say we are going to give him 3 years, we are going to judge Ruben over a period of 3 years, and people started saying, oh my god, you know
Right.
why United have started winning some games 3 in a row. We won around October, we won 3 in a row after we lost a couple of games. So that is because of the support that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has given. It always sounds good because you are playing into the you're playing with the emotions. You
Right.
know fans are what they want to hear, and you are giving them that. So they, like you mentioned, they are really good talkers. But then when you see the action, which is come to January, the manager is gone. So all those talks, he could not last 3 months after that interview when you said that we are going to give him 3 years, right? So so that's the reality, and that always bites back. And so we have seen with Sir Jim Ratcliffe is that he has lied to us over and over and over again. The claim that if he wouldn't have bought United, if he wouldn't have saved United,
Right. They would be
we would
bankrupt.
have gone bankrupt. Which, of course, when people started looking at the financial reports which came out, it was not the case. So yeah, it's really sad to have a owner who. So we previously had we currently have owners who don't don't talk. Like Glazers would not never come out and give an interview.
Right.
But then now we have got co-owners who come and talk, but then whatever they say are lies.
Spin
So
doctors there. Yeah.
right. So what do we have? Like there is every reason for United fans to go out there and protest and do a lot of whatever they can to throw out these idiots from the ownership.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, must need to come out. All these guys need to come out and say something, because it's I wouldn't, if there's protests, I wouldn't be surprised, because everything seems different at the club. There, we don't go because we don't live there, but
Right.
the season ticket holders are complaining. You can't change your tickets anymore. You have to sell it back to the club or do, so it's all that relationship that at least British fans would usually have with their club. If you're in North America, it's a totally different situation, but it seems normal to us, right? But in that part of the world, I think about the club as being an extension of the community, and we know that's not necessarily true in the modern era, but they would behave that way, right? So people would
Right.
often talk about United as a big club, but a family, and that seems to be shifting in some interesting ways. So I think about things to us in the context of, so it's like, where did this really go wrong, right? Is this like a 3-week period, a month? We still don't know the answer. I guess Eric Ten Hag has to tell us that. You get snippets here and there, because in a way you would say he got some power in the club, like when they allowed him to like jettison, say, a Rashford or other players. He clearly never got the signings he really wanted, but sometimes that could be explained away. I'm not quite sure. It could be like they don't want to come or all of that kind of stuff. But now you go out and you do this, and clearly when he spoke his mind and Jamie Jackson was probing in a press report or so, this was going to be the end of him. Once I saw that line, I'm like, he's going to get fired. There's no way he's going to survive this. And I was texting a friend of mine, and they're like, you believe this? I was like, he's going to get fired. But you fired a guy, and I'm like, why fire him right now, right? Even if you think he's not the best guy for the job, and that can happen, right? You could hire a coach and things go differently. They don't
Right.
perform the way, and if you look at the record, if we just take the record, it's not a good record, right? 31%
Mhm.
win rate in the Premier League. It's not something that a club like Man United want. But you told me we were on a project, so we may have to look and wait, right? So why fire him now when you know that you can't get a manager?
Right.
What is the point of that?
Great point. Great point, Dwayne. It's really a good point and a very intelligent point. People would like if you really think hard about the club, if you really feel for the club, you would scratch your head thinking, why do this now?
Right.
Why? Like you had so many opportunities. We started the season very badly. We lost to Grimsby. We lost to 10-man Everton. You came out and said you're publicly going to support him, right? But then why would you just take him out right now? The answer is because behind the scenes he was so frustrated that he had to come out and say this, whatever he said in the press conference, basically challenge you and tell you that this is not how he is going to manage this club. He's not going to just take orders. He's not going to be a puppet, and he's not
Right.
not. And he also clearly mentioned that if you cannot handle what the criticism from Gary Neville, he called it out,
Yeah.
then you should either change the club, like change being Man United, or change the club, like do something about it, because you should be able to have that thick skin to follow on what you have planned before the start of the season. Now, so I think when I so the decision to sack him was purely because he questioned. It has got nothing to do with his performance. It has got nothing to do with his performance, because based when he was performing worse, you came out and said you're going to give him 3 years. You're going to judge him over 3 years, right? So he questioned you. Immediately within next 24 hours, he was sacked. So it is very evident, it is very clear. Howsoever they want to spin it, they can. Howsoever they want Athletic to write articles that he and Lisandro Martinez had a fight, Embrem and Lisandro Martinez. So they're trying to spin their way, like generate negative PR around Ruben Embrem. But fans are not going to take
Right.
it this time. So they sacked him because of him questioning the way the club is functioning, which is what a lot of people have done in the past. For example, Cristiano Ronaldo, and a lot of people have said a lot of things about United who have been internally at United. Ralph Ragnick comes to mind, right? So they sacked him because of that. Now, again, I think we have done INEOS have really dig their graves here with this step. And I also see what other managements uh, have done. So, for example, we had a very bad situation at Liverpool where Mohamed Salah came out all of a sudden. He said that
Right.
they have disrespected me. 3 games I'm on the bench. I don't want to do ABCD. He said a lot of stuff, right? The way Liverpool management managed that situation was absolutely top class. Took the player out of the lineup, out of the squad for 1 or 2 games, uh, backed the manager publicly, and then brought both of them together and asked them to repair their relationships because they have to work together. Now, if Salah comes back from AFCON, when he comes back, if he's sold, Liverpool are going to get their money. So there is no valuation loss. Maybe a little bit, but it's not a total loss. You're not just writing off a huge asset.
Right.
You see what we have done in the past. Ronaldo gives an interview, he's gone, right? On a free. When you may argue that okay, we may not have been able to get money out of him. Okay, that's fine, but let's give you the benefit of the doubt. The second situation that we have faced in the past is one is Ruben Emrim, then Garnacho. He publicly came out and like did his social media tactics antics, and then I think we sold him on a cheap, right? He was
Very much.
initially it was touted as like we'll get 60 to 80 million for Garnacho.
You got 40, right?
And we got 40, and we could have let the guy rot on the bench, right? He has a good career ahead of him, and we should have taught him a lesson. And the only thing that you're paying for it is like 50,000 pounds per week. Usually, you pay 200 or 250,000 pounds per week to any player. Like he was on a
Right.
very cheap payroll, right? So if there was one example that you could have set, it should have been Garnacho, because
Right.
it does not cost you too much. Similarly, Rashford gave an interview. We sold him. So every time there is any crisis situation, we handle it very badly. We kind of write it off. I don't know why. How we do that. And if I think that every club does that way, acts that way, I don't see that happening, because there are well-run clubs like Liverpool who had a very bad situation, but they managed to come out of it. Now, they are going to get the value of the player when the player is sold, and they basically controlled whatever happened. But at United, it's all a mess. And uh, when I think about it, why would this be happening at United? What is that we are lacking in terms of management? Again, the question comes down to the owners, or the CEO that we have hired.
Right.
Are they competent enough? Are they competent enough to handle the issues that can come with such a massive club as Manchester United? To like Manchester City are a very, very, very good run club, right? But who was Omar Barada?
Right.
He was just a cog in the wheel, right? There are
Yeah.
like so many people who work at City who have made it a machine. Like you mentioned that if someone dies tomorrow, you can just replace it and the machine keeps on grinding results, right?
Right.
So that is what Manchester City have become. Whereas we just buy one piece of it, and then we market it as we have, like, now City is destroyed because we have got the biggest engineer of Manchester City, and now we are going to place him as a CEO. And then
Right.
even the decisions that he's taking are like really shambolic. Uh, then of course we have Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who has not taken any good decisions over 8 years of his footballing tenure, managing three clubs and running them down. And of course we have Glazers. That is what I see, and I laugh, because the way we have handled this Ruben Amorim situation is really bad. The only good thing for me as a fan is that at least it has blown the cover out of the face of INEOS.
Right. No, you're right. I mean, there's so much there to unpack. So I guess the question is, where do you go from here, right? Because I don't, look, it's like we were watching reruns, right? So the talks of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Michael Carrick, you name it, United old boys coming back to
Right.
settle the ship, or until you get a manager. And I don't think you can hire a manager now, because the market is going to be a bit different come the end of the World Cup, I imagine.
Right.
And you might want to look at a Nagelsmann. Who hell, you might even think about Don Carlo. Carlo Ancelotti might be available for, people might think it's
Oh,
short
right.
term, but you never know. He's a serial winner too. There's some, Thomas Tuchel. I think he goes if England doesn't go far in the World Cup. So there's a lot
Mhm.
of managers out there. Plus, there are managers in the Premier League as well, where they could lose their jobs, or maybe not lose their jobs, but have a good season. You could probably take them at the end of the season. So to get somebody, this is why I'm really I'm really concerned that they fired the guy right now, because it's clearly, as you said, it has to be insubordination. That's how they looked at it. Because
Mhm.
even if you wanted to fire him, and I can put my hand up and say, look, we thought this guy was going to do it, but maybe he's not the guy for it. Fine, the job is too big for you. You can make all those claims. You could look at the results. You might think that you supported the club by providing him with some of the pieces there that he should take it to a next level, and he's not doing enough. Fine. But you could start to think like, we're going to fire this guy at the end of the season. So you do the preparation to get the new
Right.
managers in, while you're still looking at the type of players that you want to recruit, because you're not really going to recruit players in the transfer market right now, right? Not as many as you would do. So why fire him now? We've already established. But what do you think is the interim? Do you go with Darren Fletcher till the end of the season? Or you think it's going to be, the word is it could be Ole, it could be Michael Carrick. It doesn't seem like they're coming as a package, so it might be either or.
It's like me trying to choose between dumb, dumber, and dumbest. With all respect to our
Yeah.
legends, our ex players, uh, like who is actually looking at Ole or
Right.
Carrick to hire them? No one. No one. Fletcher does, like if there was a gatekeeper who is not coming out, who we have sacked, or if there is vacancy for a gatekeeper, they would put Darren Fletcher there. He is doing any kind of job at United since
Mm.
last few years, right? He when our under 18 manager left us, so we did not move him. He left us for a better opportunity. We placed Darren Fletcher there, right? It's not that he earned that position. It was vacant. We put him there. Now again, has he earned this position here? No. He's just someone who will take orders from Wilcox.
Mm.
Similarly, we are
But they
going
say
to
he's a
bring
great
in
football guy. He gets all the praises.
like but then the question is, why is not any decent club trying to hire him? We have seen a lot
Right.
of managers get sacked in Premier League, in Championship, right? In this season, but all of
Right.
them were doing like nothing. Like Ole is out of job, Carrick is out of job. Why is
Right.
no
And
one
he
going to
Ole
hire
went to
them?
a Betis recently,
Right,
and he got fired
right,
there too. Right. Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
And that is what has happened to him when he came to Cardiff.
Yeah.
So coming back to so it doesn't matter whosoever they choose. Uh,
Mm.
with this set of players, with this competitive league, we are just going, and with this average tactics that they are going to bring, any of them, even if they work together and build one 3-into-1 management system, it's not going to work. I do not think so. The only good thing is that our results could probably, the thing that I see is that, and people will miss the context of this. In case our results improve, I would definitely consider it as something, because our players would be back. We
Right.
do not compare our results from the last few weeks of AMORIM, right? Because we lost to Aston Villa, we drew against Wolves, and we drew against Leeds. We won against Newcastle, but then the context was that we were missing a lot of players. AFCON really took
Right.
a lot of players from us,
Injuries.
and then
Yeah.
as all of a sudden everyone was injured. So we were missing 8 players. Now, if Ole gets better result, I would also consider, is it because of Ole, or is it because of or whosoever the new interim manager is, or is it because of the players coming back? But then I also see that it is very tough to maintain our position in top six.
Mm.
Um, and
But
like
you
you
would think
mentioned,
it should happen, or there's always, because we've lost so many points and in leading positions, like
Mhm.
in winning positions rather, and also against the teams that are really at the bottom of the table. Like I think we've lost points to what, all the bottom 6 or the bottom 7, something like that.
Right. Yeah, we are a very weird club. Like
Yeah.
if you look at the bottom half of the table, I was talking about it in one of the videos when I was previewing Newcastle. I think like
Mm.
few weeks ago. We have won a lot of games except for the top two teams, Arsenal or City, and Villa. Except for the top three teams, we have won against almost every club from
Right.
fourth to 10th. At that point of time, table keeps changing, right? But then you have lost or drawn to, you have not won against any of the teams in the bottom half of the table, unless you go to the relegation teams, Burnley or Wolves, right? So it was really, really. That's why I say we are a very weird team. But again, I can live with that as long as I'm there. I don't mind. We need points at the end of the season. We don't need to know if we beat Newcastle and we lost to Everton. It doesn't matter, right?
Right.
We just need points to get to the Champions League or the Europa League spots, which is the aim. And Ruben Amorim was on that. Like he would have taken us there if we would have if he would have got a good help. He was just asking for a good midfielder. If he would have got that help, then we would have been a very probably in contention of a Champions League spot.
Right.
But so that was the trajectory. And you also mentioned that his win rate was 31%. But then when I look at it, it was mostly because of his total tenure, which includes a lot of games from the last season, which was
Right.
really horrible, where we were focusing on a new
Europa League.
Europa League, and then he only got he was playing a new system, but he only got one player who is a 20-year-old right wing back. He did not get much support. He took out like 4 or 5 players out of the team, never got their replacements. So this season he got few players. And then even when he started the season with Onana and Bendir, he still kept us to the sixth position when he left,
Right.
right? So I think we really did a very bad job of losing him in mid-season, because he would have just take it, stick with him, maybe bring him into a room in the back room, scold him, make fake promises. You always do that. Make fake promises to
Right.
him. We are going to give you the world in the summer. Do something, pacify the situation like other big clubs do, right? And then deal with it in summer. You mentioned a lot of good names, but would they come without Champions League football? Would they come without European football? Would they come into a mess that has transpired since then, right?
Right.
Another thing is, they have started saying, when we talk about the new managers, they have started promoting that they are going to say, find someone who has English Premier League experience. Now that certainly rules out Nagelsmann. That certainly
Right.
rules out Luis Enrique. Then it rules out Carlo Ancelotti had some experience with Chelsea, but it was
Yeah.
long time back, right? Um, so a lot of good
And he was
coaches.
at Everton a little bit too, right? Was he?
Right. So
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of lot of things that were we are ruling out a lot of managers, but then there is another filter that rules out a whole lot of bunch of them. Who are the puppet managers left who are going to take orders from INEOS of how to
Right.
play? Right? Would Luis Enrique do that? Would
No.
Nagelsmann do that? Like,
Yeah.
and I would go on to the extent to say any good manager worth his salt would
We'll
not
never do that.
will never do that, right? So I can, if they bring Thomas Tuchel, I bet you he would not survive 3 months. He would just run out of patience with them. Emrim survived 14 months with these guys, right? So it is really the way we have set up ourselves right now is we can only get a Pochettino or someone who is an average manager who can compromise on things, and then who is not going to question them, be okay with whatever player are given to him. And that is certainly a very bad situation to be in, because at a club like United, you really need, and when you are fighting managements and managers like Arteta, Klopp, right now Slot, but then Pep, Unai Emery, uh, you just cannot survive like that
Right.
with a puppet manager.
No, you need a strong manager, but more importantly, as we've talked about, you need a proper system to support that manager, because any good manager that comes in, they're gonna want demands or guarantees that you can deliver with the players, right? Unless you're gonna tell them you have 5 years to figure this out, and or 6 years, and we don't mind the result. And no one is, and that is never going to be true at any club, much less at Manchester United, right? There's some players in the academy you can look at JJ Gabriel. It was good to see Shea Lacey yesterday. There's a bunch of kids, but you you cannot throw the kids in the lion's den if the structure around them isn't correct, right? So
Right.
you don't get the next great midfielder in unless you can pair them with someone who can give them experience. And you could see that even right now, like Lenny Yura looks like a generational talent for a lot of
Mm.
people, but there's a lot of things that talent cannot tell you on a football pitch unless you're partnered with somebody who can say, look, man, step 2 meters to the side, watch out for that, coach them on the field until they develop that. It is a crucial position. The holding midfield position is the most important thing on a football field to tick it around. You have to invest in somebody who can do that. Or if you're going to put a kid there, you know it's going to be a messy situation until they develop, and I feel bad for a number of these kids in the academy, because I do think over the time, even from Rashford, or you go back before him, Jesse Lingard, or whoever these guys, there's been a lot of talent there that if they came through in a different United team,
Mhm.
quite possibly we'd be talking about this might be another Giggsy, or maybe not
Right.
a Giggsy, but or somebody,
Right.
right? Like they're just not fitting in because it's hard to. There's no role models in the dressing room as well, so it's problems. Yeah, I
No,
don't
no,
know.
no, no. You're absolutely right because uh, you just cannot. So there is a reason why no top manager keeps picking up a lot of academy kids into
Right,
the and into a league which is so as competitive as English Premier League. It is a way to kill their careers. It is a very good way of, if you want to destroy a career of a youth, just put him into a team and just let people abuse him because he is not good enough, right?
right.
It's always good to see cameos of players like Shia Lacey and what he did yesterday. But then people forget that he had 45 minutes against Newcastle where he could
Yeah,
not do anything, right? And similarly, Jack Fletcher got good amount of minutes, but he was like really non-visible
yeah.
on
It
the
looks
pitch,
he looks like he's
right?
not a football player,
Right, right. But although
and
these
he
guys are
is.
really good at
Yeah,
under 18 level, so
yeah,
it
he
is
is.
the people who understand football, they know there is a lot of difference between under 18 and the like the men's team, right? The first team.
Right.
So uh, if if you also look at it from another angle, uh, if the academy is so good, if the academy kids are so good, why is it that Arsenal go out and when they finished second in the league, they go out and buy 8 players
Hmm.
in one transfer window? Why didn't they just promote more kids? Why is Ethan Nwaneri on the bench? Why is Martin Skelly's not?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's not getting all the minutes. Why is he not the starter in every game? Right? Because there is a reason to it. They may be very good. They may be probably be ready, but you cannot just take that risk because if they do not perform up to the level that you think they can, your season is derailed, and the level of abuse that these kids would get is very wild. Also, if you want to, if the argument is that Sir Alex used to do it, you should study what Sir Alex has done.
Right.
In the past, when he brought in Cantona, he brought in Roy Keane. At that time, this class of '92, they were on the periphery. They were
Yeah.
probably like Montato, what Montato or Kunkunki are today. Like they used to get like 10 minutes here or there after 5 matches. They'll get 10 minutes. They're training with the team for 2 years until they get rolled into the team and start getting the consistent minutes. So you have to train with the first team for
Yeah.
a year or two before you become ready to play that men's football, right, from
Yeah.
the kids football. uh, so but people don't have patience. They always look at La Masia and oh, they have thrown Balde, they have thrown Lamine Yamal. That certainly doesn't help because I from what I see is that our academy is okay, our academy is good, but it is certainly not the top 5 academy of the world.
Right.
uh, the way I see it is that if you go and check the people, the players that we have produced in the last 5 years, see where they play was and compare them with the academies of Sporting Lisbon,
Mm.
compare them with the academies of Manchester City, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, right? And then you
Yeah.
would see what the
Benfica. Yeah.
level of
Yeah.
academies are, right? FC Porto. So
Yeah.
so all these Benfica. Oh my God! So
Yeah.
they produce so many good kids, right? And they're those who are killing it out there in top teams and top leagues. While I think our academy is seriously overrated, and I would only want to see 1 or 2 kids getting some minutes in our team until we are really there, where we can establish and we can bring up a next Makeda into a team or next Brian Giggs into the team, and
Right.
they can flourish, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
or they have to go out, right? Like, so the biggest thing is that at some point, no matter how talented you are, you have to apply your trade. You have to just put minutes on. It's like, I don't want
right,
to call it junk minutes, but you get a kid and you know they're going to be talented. Send them to some place, they play, they learn, they realize that this club is less than Manchester United. You might have to wash your own clothes. That's used to be the argument back in the 90s. It's not the
right,
same now, but you learn to play more, then you come back as a much better player. Because when you come back, that's when we know if you're going to be a player or not. If you can cut it here, like you can fight for
right.
your position, but you just can't just pick up a kid and just expect them to be the next, unless they're a generational talent, right? And I mean, even the generational talents took time to get into any squad.
Right.
You know, Messi was training the year before. You're like, they're not so sure. Then he played, and then eventually took it over, right? Like you just have to think that this won't work. And as you mentioned, like I remember watching those games when, there are moments where Nicky Butt would play, then he wouldn't play again. And there's a point where Phil Neville wasn't in the team. Gary Neville would substitute on, I think, here and there. Even Scholes, he struggled at one point. Then he was in the team. Bex was loaned out. Everybody was doing something until you found a piece like they can now fill in there. Like Giggs finally took over, so they sold Cancellous or something like that. So that this is his position. So, but you cannot just rely on kids. So I think I was listening to Gary Neville the other day, and when he said Alan Hansen was right, you can't win anything with kids. And I remember everybody with the Anal Hansen said that, and I don't think he meant that those United kids would never come good. I think what he meant was you cannot just take the entire top class talent you have out of an academy and say go win the league. It's not going to work, So
yeah, I don't really believe what Gary Neville says. He just says things.
Yeah.
And most of the time it certainly doesn't help United or the players or the manager. But next 6 months you are going to see a very different version of Gary Neville, because his friend is going to be here, be it Carrick or Ole or both of them,
Fletcher, or whoever, right?
So yeah, we'll see a very different version of Gary Neville now. So this is what I would predict would happen to us for the next 6 months. Since AMORIM has gone, we'll get to see lot more minutes for Kobe Mainoo. Some of the youngsters may get a chance if we go through in the higher, like the deep end of FA Cup. But more importantly, right now the focus for the first 6 months was on the manager. Since the last 1 year, it was on the manager, right? Now, what I would predict is that since manager is no longer going to be a problem, no manager is going to be like a big name, right? They are, everyone knows that if you criticize Ole or Fletcher, no one cares too much about it. Now the focus would shift to the players. If Bruno doesn't perform, which I think would not happen, he would perform. He would be the best player to target. Otherwise, you have Sesko, you have Cunha and Mbumo.
Right.
These new signings, the Ruben Amorim signings, would be targeted a lot.
Right.
So in case United cannot get the results, so this is, I think they are going to go. The agenda is going to run over the new signings that we have made, and yeah, players like Ugarte, non-English players, right? So they would be in the like right. They would be short, right?
Yeah. So let me ask a couple more. So thinking about it, I guess we have to think that moving forward it's going to be either 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 or something like that. I wonder what you think about Ahmad, where he fits into something like that. If they'll play him. You're right. I think Kobe Mainoo will get more game time.
Right.
Which I'm not necessarily against either, but I mean, it's like also, there's issues there too. Yeah.
I've with Kobe, I predicted this the way I've given my prediction right now of what could happen. I predicted this in September that there would be a debate between Bruno and Kobe Mainoo, because I know Kobe Mainoo is the sweetheart of everyone because he's the Manchester Academy graduate,
and England loves him because he was there. Yeah,
right. In the Euros, so he's the next Paul Scholes or whatever, right? So I predicted this, that there would be a lot of hate towards Bruno. Because he has taken over, and Bruno is not going to get injured and all that stuff. So I always thought that there is going to be a debate, and I was really I never anticipated that it would become this big, that people would stop asking about games and to the manager, and they would just keep asking about Mainoo. It really blew up, this Mainoo Amorim Bruno debate. Now, where so your question is really good. Where does Ahmad fit into the picture? And I can see us playing 4-2-3-1 rather than 4-3-3 with one CDM.
Right.
We would have two people in the pivot. So certainly there is a space of for Kobe Menu and or Ogate or Casemiro on the other side, and then you have Bruno. So Ahmad would have to hash it out with Brian Mbumu, unfortunately.
Right.
So there is only one position for two of them. I do not expect us to play Ahmad as a right back because
Mm.
it would be a lot of defensive work for him, and then you are just wasting his talent because he is now a
All
defender,
right,
a
but yeah, I don't
proper
think that would work
defender,
either. Yeah. Mm.
right? Not a wing back. So there are certainly going to be a lot of questions because people attacked Ruben Amorim because of the game time that was not given to a lot of some of the players. For example, Shia Lacey, Kobe
Right.
Menu, and all that. Right? Why are you not playing Zirkzee and all that? So I just uh, see. I would never want United to lose a game, but if there was any, and just to expose more dirt, right, within the club, just to expose everyone, right, I would I from in a corner, I'm really hesitant to say this, but somewhere in the corner of my heart I want us to get out of the FA Cup by Brighton, uh because
I
then
know you're gonna go there. Yeah.
then we would not have any more games
Right.
apart from the Premier League. We'll just have one game a week. And then I want to see what happens to Ole or Fletcher or whosoever is in charge, whosoever is the puppet manager at that time, who asks these questions about Kobe Menu not getting enough time. Why are you not playing Mason Mount
Mm.
when he's fit? Because you have to play Bruno, right? So
Right.
you would have to choose then. So it would be really interesting to see why Harry Maguire is not getting any minutes. When delayed Harry
Right.
Maguire, everyone is back. Why are you not playing Lenny Oro and all that when Mazroy is back?
Right.
Oh God, it would be a sight. It would be a sight if that happens.
Yeah.
So
FA Cup prolongs that for sure. It creates, some more games. It doesn't give you as much as if you're in like a European competition
right.
where you could just, and I think that's the goal, obviously. I don't know. I mean, so I don't want to end depressing, but it's hard not to think about, the state of the club and just think. I think it's just crisis, and I think it's a crisis that what they really need to do, and if they really have the club at heart, there needs to be emergency meetings right now for the next how many days, thinking about what are we going to do. Are you settled on the football structure? Because, and I know I didn't ask you this question, but you intimated again in terms of the quality of the people above. I really wonder if Wilcox should be in a job because no, there's a couple reasons I say this to in the sense that, like, where was his voice like early on if he never really agreed with Ruben Amorim? Was that really true? Like if he wasn't on board with this guy, he should be like, Jim, you don't know anything about football. This doesn't is Barada should shut up. Like he's run the accounts, not this. And so I'm wondering there, or are they making, is the media doing something to really preserve his kind of character or his body of work? Because I'm wondering if he should step away because that doesn't make sense that what he's doing there, and I don't know. Yeah, I'm Ram. I don't know if you think,
No,
yeah,
no, you're absolutely right. He definitely should not be here. If Emrim is going, he should be going out too because he was a part. He was setting up that structure, right?
right,
He was part of it since last 1 year before Emrim came in. So why does he get a free pass?
yeah,
I have seen him do some interviews. Just whenever when we win couple of games, he comes up to the camera. Otherwise, he has been in and around like around the crime scene for a lot of on a lot of instances. For example,
right,
Dan Ashworth, when we got him finally after waiting for so long, we let him go and he got his position. While we know that the person who was reporting to Dan Ashworth was Jason Wilcox, and the person Dan Ashworth was reporting to was a friend of Jason Wilcox, which is Omar Barada.
Right.
So I somehow think that there was a very big power play in there, somewhere in there. And right now, since I also feel that these guys are like just human beings at the end of the day. And when you over promote someone into a
Mm.
job that they are not capable of doing, or they do not expect themselves to keep that job, they try to play politics. They try to preserve themselves. They try to protect themselves by keeping people who may not be as good, but are they can trust more, right? So that is where I think Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox relationship is there. I certainly see them as yes men to Ratcliffe, because you have a billionaire who actually is trying to take like all the shots. Like he's trying to decide what he thinks, right? He heeds advice from people like Gary Neville, and he thinks Gary Neville is right, we should play back four, he would just tell
Right.
it to Omar Barada or Jason Wilcox, and I do not think so they have balls to question him or ask him that he's stepping into their roles. And so I think that we have a lot of yes men now. That is what we want our manager to be, because if you have in this series or in this sequence of having a yes men from top to bottom, if you have one who is not one who knows about football, then you're going to have problems, because then ownership would start asking you questions that why are you not implementing it, when I told you that we have to play back four. You said when I told you this squad is good enough for UCL, which apparently Sir Jim Ratcliffe believes that this squad is good enough for to qualify for top four, then did these guys question him? I
Mm.
highly doubt that. I believe from my imagination, and this is myself speculating here, is that they would have been in a room and they would have been, oh my God, sir, you are so right. You want us to qualify for Champions League? It's done, man. It's done. This is good enough squad. We have Bruno, we have Menu, and all that. With this squad, we should definitely go and win Champions League. I think they're kind of yes men rather than anyone questioning each other or the ideas.
Right. I think I heard Paul Scholes said something, and he's been very critical of a lot of things. But I think he heard, I don't know if he was saying, I saw a clip of him because he's doing a podcast now with Nikki, right? With Nikki Butt.
Mm.
And he said the thing that worries him about Wilcox was that he heard Wilcox saying that United is about about three players away from challenging for the league, and he was like, yeah, I don't know. You know, that is a big worry. If he really believes
Yeah.
that, then I think it's a massive problem. You know, then
Yeah, unless those
if
players
that's true,
are
he has to go. Yeah,
unless those players are Messi, Ronaldo, and Luka
right.
Modric. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right now that has to be like Beckenbauer in the back or
Right.
somebody like Lothar Matthäus, you know,
Right.
Yapstam, Rio Ferdinand, you
Right.
name it. It has to be all-time greats. If you tell me tomorrow morning we're gonna get you the best center half the world has ever seen, get me Busquets or Carrick or whoever, right? Like in Xavi to
Some best,
hold.
actually best in class players, right?
Exactly.
World
If
class
those
players.
people arrive at the club tomorrow, I think you
Mm.
can challenge, right? You
Right.
know, but I don't. Those people aren't coming to the club, right? You know,
Right. So,
so
a
yeah,
very good example that I see here is for what you have said is that how would you? Okay, so try to imagine if you find the next Busquets, if he's
yeah,
playing at AC Milan or Genoa or I don't know Sporting Lisbon, right? Um, if the world, if no one has identified, if he has not broken out, like if he's not there in the scene yet, you need scouts to identify him, right? Which we already know that we have removed more than 50% of our
right,
scouts. So it is less probability that we'll find one than before, than the probability that we could have found him before, right? Earlier. Now, the other way could be to go out and buy him. To buy him out when everyone is looking at him is now you are going to compete with a lot of big clubs
yeah,
who are in a way better position because they are playing Champions League football. So that is very enticing to a very young talent. Let us say if it is the next Busquets, Leo Messi, or Ronaldo. The biggest concern that I have with United going back to the top, why I do not think so that is going to happen, is because we cannot sign the next Ronaldo or the Messi, or so whosoever we have signed in the past, right? Wayne Rooney. If there is a
Right.
17-year-old kid at Everton who is really banging goals left, right, and center, we would not be the first club that he's going to go to. So there are better clubs than us who are way more efficient playing champions. They can offer Champions League football. What was the other thing that was enticing to these players? It was our salary. That we used to
Mm.
pay a lot, which we have already broken, because now we have a wage structure, apparent wage structure, that we are not going to break even if we lose out on any kind of a talent. That concerns me a lot. People used to celebrate it. Oh, we are not going to spend 250 million to, we are not going to give silly wages to Anthony or whosoever, right?
Right.
Jadon Sancho and all that. But they forget that when it comes to trying to get the best talent, you have to throw out wages. That is what has happened in the case of Semenyo. He may have
Yeah.
chosen Pep Guardiola, he may have chosen Champions League and the success of Manchester City. But what would, if you were to, if the player is looking at Manchester City, what is that you can offer to get him into the club so that you can reach to that stage, to you can play in Champions League? You would have to offer up money.
Yeah. It has to be money.
So if you are not going to spend money, if you are not in the Champions League, what are you going to offer? So why would you expect any good player would come to you? Yes, they would, if the competition is Newcastle or Tottenham Hotspurs, which was the case for Brian Mbumu or Matheus Cunha, right? Otherwise, if there is a race between Arsenal, Chelsea, United, City, and Liverpool, we would, almost all the time, we would be the fifth choice club between these
Yeah.
five clubs,
The
right?
only way you get around that is if the kid grew up as a United fan and he
Right,
has to play at United. Otherwise, you won't get around that,
right.
because as much as we think City is in crisis, and that's the kind of crisis I'd like to be in right now, where you're still like, okay, you could still win this. It's easy to sell. It's easy for Pep to sell City or whoever to send
Right.
menu. Like, look, dude, if you come here, I bet you will win the league. You're the
Right.
missing piece to win in this league. Look how close we are to Arsenal. You'll score some goals, you win the league. You're better than what's his name, Dorku or whatever. Yeah,
Mm.
like you could sell that kind of stuff. You could put your arms around someone and say, look, there is a project there. Anybody looking at the United project, it always looks like, is the project going on or did they stop the
Yeah.
construction? Right, that's what's happening, right? And so that's why
Yeah.
I think firing Ruben Amorim at this very moment, you've just shot yourself in the foot, in the sense that people who would have said, maybe if I can come next year, I won't, right? Because I don't know who the manager is going to be. This looks like it's not a stable place to be. And what did they call it? Project, whatever they want to win the title in how
Yeah.
many years?
Project
Yeah.
150 in 2028, we are going to win
Yeah.
Premier League. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in 2031, I do remember their promises. We will be in a new stadium where Ruben Amorim will be the manager. That is what Ronald
Right.
Parada said. So,
Yeah.
uh,
PR is great, like, I
yeah,
mean, yeah,
definitely.
social media is great. You just don't win anything with that.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
no substance to back it, but yeah, amazing marketing.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, I don't know. Yeah, we've been at it for a little bit over an hour. I don't want to take up much time. We should do this more often, I guess. But
Yeah.
I hope that things get okay for the rest of the season. Because as we all are United fans, nothing would please us more than getting into the into the Champions League.
Right.
I wouldn't hold my breath on it, but but this Premier League is kind of interesting. Everybody's kind of close by, I think, yeah, barring obviously Arsenal, City, and Aston Villa at the moment. So you never know, if you go on a run, you could potentially find your way in European football. And I think European football is the very minimum Manchester United need to push whatever project they say they have. I don't think it will help, but
Right.
yeah, at least you probably can get some better players. And if they were to land into the Champions League, at least it would make us feel happy. Play some
Oh,
good
certainly.
football. Yeah, I hope they play some
Certainly.
exciting football. If there's any plus from yesterday, we didn't talk about it. It was good to see Sesko getting chances, and he got a number of chances, and he probably could have scored a hat trick.
Right.
But it's not like he was playing a big team. We'll see if he can do that against Brighton, or when we play Manchester City in a couple of weeks as well. But
Right. So
yeah,
he had the most shots in this Premier League season by any player on the goal. So he had 7 shots, which was really good. So that is why I was really happy for Sesko, because as I mentioned earlier, I think he's going to be one of the targets by media. 75 million signing, not giving us enough goals and all that.
When
So
he can't
that's an
score if
easy
he doesn't
target.
get the service, right? Yeah.
Right. So, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next part of the season. A part of me has already checked out from this club, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't cry now if we finish 10th. I would just take solace in the fact that people would be more angry. There is a better chance for us if our season goes to downhill. There would be a better chance for us to remove Glazers and INEOS, and I would want fans to be angry, even if it means for us to get relegated. I would choose that rather than short-term success again.
Right.
So yeah, that's where I stand right now. But again, I'm emotional. I can sway when we play. I still felt very good when Sesko scored. I still felt very good when Licha scored, but it was then offside. So as a United, like I mentioned, a lot of United fans are really torn right now. Like their heart, many of them, their heart is with Ruben Amorim. They know what the problems are, but they still can't stop supporting this club, right? So let's hope for the best. Let's hope if somehow we can get these Glazers and INEOS accountable, and fans, the protest and all can start, and they can actually throw them out. That would be the best thing that would happen. And if Ruben Amorim is the start of it, at least the history would remember him very kindly. That he did one of the best things that could ever happen to our club, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I am. But it was really, really great chatting with you, Dwaine.
No, it's good.
It was
Good
a
having
pleasure.
you on. Great insight, and thanks for coming on, and all your fans all over the world as well. Do subscribe to at the United Boys, and give me a subscription to if you so desire, and we'll try to make this happen again.
Yeah. So to my viewers, I would just like to let you know that Dwaine creates a lot of other content as well. So if you are interested in track and field, that is what he does a lot of videos on, live sessions on. He brings in a lot of very good guests. The content is in English. Which is which is not true for me, because I create content in Hindi, my native language. But yeah, he does cover a lot of other sports as well, especially track and field. And of course, he's a United fan, so he covers about United as well. So yeah, if please consider subscribing to Sports Talk Tech.
Appreciate it. All right. Well, have a great day. Thanks, everyone. And hopefully people who watch on the rebroadcast comment. We'll try to respond to all of those. And if we didn't get to your comment this time, maybe next time. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you.